I don't want to give away who I am yet. Come on. Oh, please. We didn't start the recording yet, did we? No, not yet? No, it's live. Okay, good. Perfect. Thank you. Slideshow, play from start. Okay, okay, good. My screen looks different. Okay, so tonight what we are going to do is deploy some stuff. So one thing that happened to me, especially as a junior level developer, is I would build a whole ton of really cool things at least that I thought were super cool at the time. Now I look back and kind of cringe, but that's how I will always look back at my code. But I didn't actually get a whole lot of that out into the world. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We are just going to deploy as many things as we can in 40 minutes, which seems like a lot. But that's not a whole lot of time. Who's deployed something before? Who has deployed one thing in less than 40 minutes? Nice. Who has deployed one thing in less than 15 minutes? Who has deployed 4 things in 40 minutes? All right, perfect. All right, so that's what we're going for right now, and we're going to do it. If you'd like to follow along, you absolutely may. I slacked out in the JavaScript MN channel the general the GitHub repos that I will be deploying today. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So that's that whole slide. I work at Prime. I paid many of the people. Prime just. Oh no. No, you keep. I'll just keep talking while you dig around in my back pocket. Cool. So I work at Prime. We're a 20-week coding boot camp, and this is what I do pretty frequently is just yell at people like this. Back row, can you hear me? Tony, you good? Yes? Okay, perfect. So there isn't much time to deploy all of the things. I am going to deploy these 3 things, I hope, in this amount of time. So static client-side deployment. So that's like if you have an index.html or maybe you've got some CSS files with it, that's what we're going to do. So we are going to start with that. And then we are going to deploy something in Gatsby.js. Has anybody heard of Gatsby? All right, good. Okay, so like 4 hands, fantastic. Not as many as I would like, but it's a super cool way to make static sites very quickly. It's built upon React, but if you're not familiar with it, we're just going to deploy something like that. And then we're also going to deploy a node server. So a server is typically something that is pretty scary to deploy, and we're going to do it all in 39 minutes. Okay, so our first demo project is here at Deploy It. And actually, before we even jump into any GitHub repositories, we are just going to deploy an index.html. So I'm going to close Slack really quickly. And so we are just going to create a brand new project from scratch and deploy it in 5 minutes. Okay, so here I'm going to CD to my desktop. Yes, I'm using a Mac today, but I believe anything that we do tonight will work on a PC. You can't see the screen. Oh, no. Is it only sharing that one screen? So I guess stop doing that. All right, so I'll have to restart this slideshow every time. That's fine. OK, you can see this. Yes, because I can see this. OK. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a brand new project from scratch. So I'm going to make a folder. So this is going to be JSMN. And I'll type ls to show you, oh, I was supposed to have nothing in that folder, but I didn't because this is my root. Let me try this again. ls, I'm going to cd into JSMN. Oh, that's embarrassing. OK, now when I type ls, there's nothing in this folder. This is a completely empty folder, nothing on my sleeve. So now what I'm going to do is create an index.html file. And I'm going to open this up with Visual Studio Code. Could be Vim, could be Atom, whatever. Pick your poison here, whatever IDE you prefer. And we're just going to add some HTML. And the body, so that you know this isn't like a pre-deployed site. This is going to be some unique word that only you would say right now out loud with your mouse. Hannah Platypus? Banana. That makes more sense. Platypus. Banana. Anything else we want to throw in here? Taco. Great. Perfect. So this, clearly unique. No one would come up with this series of words. I feel like I'm doing a magic trick. I'm not, but what I'm about to show you is pretty cool. So I don't want you to think it's just like me messing around Well, I am messing around, but that's not the point. So what we're going to do is now take that folder that hopefully lives on my desktop, buried under all of these things. Great, so this is my JSMN folder that has that HTML, and I have navigated to netlify.com/drop. Netlify is one of the sites we are going to use tonight to deploy things. And I am going to take this folder that has just an index.html file. I'm going to take it, I'm going to drag it, I'm going to drop it. I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to click this. And now if you go to vibrantbaba2f0ba8.netlify.com, we have a live site. Deployed it, done. Good, all right. So we already deployed something, right? And right now that was just an index.html file, so not super impressive maybe. So let's also deploy using that same thing to prove that we can deploy more complicated things. I'm going to deploy this first thing that I slacked out, this deploy it. So if you clone that down and then you drag that folder over to this site, drag and drop, this one will, oh, I thought it would take a little bit longer because it's a lot bigger. Well, let's go ahead and open it up. So this is a website that's just HTML and CSS that I built last night from a Start Bootstrap template. And so this is something we just deployed. And that is at eagerwing198479.netlify.com. So we just deployed two things. We're halfway there, but the other ones take much longer. But it's only been 4 minutes so far, so we're doing all right, right? So this is what deployment can look like. So when you go to deploy your next project, please don't let deployment be the thing that holds you back from like putting it on the web. Please put it on the web and share it and Slack it out in JavaScript Amen. Okay, so we just deployed two things, but now you're probably thinking, okay, there's a lot more complexity to the applications I'm building. I'm building some pretty intense stuff. So we are going to deploy something that's a little bit more intense. And we're also going to get prepared for a workflow. So what I want to do is set up my application so that it automatically deploys every time I push to a GitHub repository. So every time I push to a GitHub repository, because I'm pushing to master in this example, please don't, but I'm pushing to master in this example, it will automatically redeploy. And so in order to do that, I've created, oh no, this is for a later part in the talk. All right, we're going to jump around. The notes are going to be a little off. So we're going to go back. This is my Netlify account. So if you don't have an account, you can still do the things we just did. If you don't have a Netlify account, you can do the drag and drop. It will only be live for 24 hours before they take it down. Otherwise, you can create an account. You don't even give them a credit card, and they'll keep it up there for at least, I've been using it for, this doesn't, 22 days ago is not actually when I created that. So longer than 22 days. But I am still pretty new to Netlify, and it does some pretty awesome stuff right out of the gate. So here, I would like to create a new site from GitHub and do direct deployment that way. So I'm going to click New Site from Git, and then click GitHub. I logged into Netlify with my GitHub account, so it already knows, it already has access to my repositories. And in this case, I am going to deploy things I should have tested last night. Okay, I'm going to deploy it Gatsby. So Gatsby is a static site generator. So if you've used Hugo or if you've used Jekyll, there are others. Anybody? Hugo, Jekyll, like any of these static site builders, it basically creates a site for you and then you can deploy it. It requires a build process, and that can be kind of tricky because we not only need to have like those static files, but we also need to be able to build it and then deploy it. And Netlify can do this as well. So here, Luke Schlungen, what did I call it? Deploy it Gatsby. So Gatsby, deploy it Gatsby. So this searches through all of my repositories and it finds deploy it Gatsby. I click that one, and it can actually tell that it's a Gatsby project. If you didn't have a Gatsby project and you just had something that was like an index.html file right in your main folder or inside of a public folder, it would find that for you as well and try to figure out which folder it's supposed to deploy. If it didn't have a build process, you just wouldn't put anything here in the build command. This does have a build process, so I'm going to leave it as Gatsby build. Public is the name of the directory, but you can choose anything. That could be your dist folder. And so now I'm going to say deploy site. Site deploy in progress. No, this one takes a little bit more time because it is actually building the site, putting that build folder as public, naming that build folder public, and then deploying that public folder. So this one will take a little bit longer. So while we're waiting for that, we're going to deploy that first site on Firebase. So this isn't a sales pitch for any specific product. We've done 3 projects on Netlify so far, but we're going to hop over to Firebase. So for those of you who's used Firebase before, more than Gatsby. All right, okay, good. We're headed in the right direction. These are still sounding obscure to some of you, and that's okay. So we are going to go to Firebase. Firebase does a whole lot of different things. So this is their landing page. They're owned by a small startup in San Francisco named Google. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm going to my console. So I have several Firebase projects, but now we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to create a brand new project. My awesome project is going to be named Frankenstein. That seems appropriate. Frankenstein. Oh, no. E-I-N? All right, got it. Someone has already chosen that, so we instead get Frankenstein 9B984. And yes, of course, I've read all of those things, and I agree to them. Create project. How are we doing, Randall? Did I just break everything?
Oh, you're fine.
OK. All right, so it is creating that project for me. So this is Firebase, and now I have a brand new project, but it doesn't have anything, and nothing is deployed. You can have a Firebase project that doesn't deploy through Firebase. You could just be using it as your database. You could just be using it as your authentication. It has a bunch of different options, but what we care about is hosting. So it says deploy web and mobile apps in seconds using a secure global content delivery network. And it says get started. So what we need to do is npm install -g Firebase tools. So globally install Firebase tools. So that way every part of your computer has access to these tools. I did that before so that you don't have to watch a loading bar go across the screen. You're welcome. And now I'm going to click login. And it says Firebase login, but I shouldn't have to do that because I've already done that. And then Firebase init is where I'm going to start. So this is a brand new Firebase project. So now I need to add that. So here inside of this JavaScript MN site that we've created that is beautiful and contains things like the word platypus, I am going to type ls. And you can see I don't have anything inside there besides my index.html. Then I'm going to Firebase init. This says Firebase if your console is long enough. If your console is short like mine, it's just a wildfire. And so now there are a bunch of different options. You can add a database, Firestore, functions, which is like cloud functions if you want to do that, like Lambda from AWS, or hosting, or storage. Storage is like images that you might want to store. It hooks up with Google Image Storage. But what I'm interested in is hosting. So I'm going to hit spacebar to select it, and then enter. And now it gives me a whole bunch of projects because I have made a whole bunch of projects. I just need to select the project that I would like. I would like Frankenstein 9B984, which is the one I just created. And it says your public directory is the folder relative to your project directory that will contain hosting assets to be uploaded with Firebase deploy. If you have a build process for your assets, use your build's output directory. So by default, it's public. I don't want it to be public. I want it to be this current one, which I believe is just a slash is what it expects. Oh, maybe I should look at my notes and make sure that I get this right. Of course I didn't put that in the notes. Why would I? Of course I would remember. All right, so we are going to use the public folder. So we are going yeah. Configure as a single page app. For this, we only have one page, so sure. And writing configuration into firebase.json. When I type ls, now I have three things. I have firebase.json, index.html, and public, which is the folder that it just created for me. So I'm going to open that up in Visual Studio Code and just drag and drop my index file. So here, oh, it already created one for me. OK, but I want to prove that this was not pre-done. So I am going to cancel. Oh, I'm going to drag it in here and replace. Ooh, the suspense, the drama. All right. And now let's see if I'm forgetting any of the steps. We're going to try Firebase deploy, deploying Frankenstein 9B984. And now this is available at https frankenstein9b984 firebaseapp.com. So let's go check out this wonderful site that is deployed. Platypus banana taco. 3 things. Wow. We've got, I should like, stalling. Yeah.
So is that Firebase config file, that hidden file, is it part of the source code or is it git ignored?
You could do either way, depending on whether or not you had multiple developers who wanted to deploy to different places. It depends on what you add to your git ignore. In this case, I will leave it in there. All it does is tell you what project it's deploying to. So I could imagine if you had multiple developers working across a single project, you would git ignore it so that you would just have the file specific to where you're deploying on your development, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Cool. Other questions? That's what I can do. Did everybody know all of this stuff existed before? What? Yeah. So this is telling me where, and I think if I change this to a slash, I could move the index out of that, but I don't want to test that right now. Let's test that right now. So we're going to try this, and we're going to move index out here. We're going to delete this public folder entirely, and we're going to wait to see what errors I get. All right. We're going to try Firebase deploy. It still shows this, but I'm not really sold. Let's change something. I need another word. Biscuits. Biscuits. I'm so bad at spelling. Biscuits? Yeah? All right, biscuits. And so here, if I refresh, this is not local. This is actually deployed. So it doesn't have biscuits yet until I Firebase deploy. And let's refresh. Biscuits. There we go. It's working. That's convenient. Cool. So now I have I should just get a digital watch. That's what I should do. I have 25 minutes to deploy something to Heroku. Does anybody have questions about deploying to Netlify or Firebase or anything? Yeah?
What are some of the pay options for Netlify?
Some of the pay options, I don't know. It has not asked me for a credit card, so I have not asked it to give one. So I don't know. I know that I have, like, I have so many sites on here. I wonder that, actually, but then not enough to search for it. I'm sure their pricing is available somewhere. But yeah, I've got a lot of sites on here, and I'm just ready for them to be like, Luke, you just keep deploying index.html files. What are you doing? But it hasn't stopped me yet. Yeah, yesterday I added 3 new sites. Yeah, I don't know. Next question. Killing it. Yes. You do. For all of these, you have control over the domain name. So for Netlify specifically, I added a custom domain here. So inside of domain settings, I added a custom domain. I use Google Domains, and you just add it as a C name or as an A name. Nobody's correcting me, so I'm saying it. A name. And then this forwards Code Championship to www.codechampionship.com. So, I mean, we can see, like, this is for free. I get a custom domain name, which is super cool. Yeah?
Can you deploy servers on Firebase?
You cannot deploy servers on Firebase. You can deploy Cloud Functions. So you could use Cloud Functions as your server and make it serverless. Hi, Oliver. I didn't see you come in. But you can't deploy like a separate node server on Firebase. But that's it. Oh, yes.
Can you attach in any way a database to it?
Yes. Yep. So you could, I mean, add you could use Firebase's database itself. It has a built-in NoSQL database that's a real-time database, which is actually how most people know of it. It's a real-time live database, which means I update something on my screen, it immediately updates on someone else's, which is super cool for how little work you have to do to get it set up. So you could use their database, or you could use your own completely separate database as long as you've got some sort of API that hooks into it. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Netlify does not either, but it also has cloud functions as well. And also, all of these are just client-side things, so you can choose whatever. If that's serverless, maybe you want to use AWS Lambda, maybe you want to use Google Cloud Functions. You can use any of those things to connect to your client-side application. OK, but that is a perfect segue into servers. So JavaScript also runs on the server now. Welcome, the brave new world. It doesn't feel new anymore, right? Like, no, because some of you have not been coding since before Node was a thing. Node was back in my day. OK, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a server. And I actually have, a server, but we've got a little bit of time. So let's make a server and deploy it all in the 20 minutes we have left. So I'm going to cd back to my desktop. I don't know. I'm getting nervous. If it gets like 5 minutes left, then we'll just deploy the one that I have built. But let's see if we can build this out. OK, so here I'm at my desktop. So if you've never seen Node before, welcome. This is going to be an intro. And we're going to make a new project called Hot Dogs. Hot Dogs. Dogs that are warm. cd into Hot Dogs. Open that up in Visual Studio Code. And we are going to make a server. So Node is just JavaScript that runs server side. So we are going to create a new file. And this is going to be server.js. And we are going to console.log. I want to be a server when I grow up. It's not done yet. It's not a server yet. We can't have it say that. I'll make this a little bit bigger so that people can see. OK, so this is not a server yet, but it's some Node. And we can run Node just by typing node server.js. And there we go. We get a console log. I want to be a server when I grow up. It's beautiful. So this is Node. So now we are running Node on server side. And I have too many windows open. Let's see if I can find the one I want. This one. OK. So this is just a console log right now. And what we want to do is spin up a server. So I'm going to use my favorite module. So this is npm, Node Package Manager. I'm going to init. Yes, I forgot to put -y, so I have to click enter a bunch of times. And here I have package.json. So this stores a whole bunch of information about my application. What I'm going to do is npm install Express. This is really good at helping you build out APIs, doing server-side routing. And so I have Express here. So Express is now a part of my project. And I'm going to bring it into this server.js file by saying const express equals require express. And I'm going to make an application, const app equals an instance of express. And I'm going to have that application listen on port 5000. And now when I npm start, did you mean this star? No, no I didn't. OK, this has a start script. I just typed it wrong. Yeah, start. There we go. Great, so it still says I want to be a server when I grow up, and then it just stops and looks like it's doing nothing. What it's actually doing is running one of the prettiest servers I've ever seen, where it says cannot get. It has no get requests. So we are going to add a get request. If you haven't seen this before, this is probably confusing, and that's OK. We're just going to create a server here. It will say hello world, and then we're going to deploy it. Actually, it will say something like hello platypus, banana, something, something. So we're going to say app.get. So this is a GET request to the root. And we are going to use some ES6 here, rec and res. And we are going to res.send. And we will have this say the random words of
Gravy.
what?
Gravy.
We're going lighter hearted than that. What was yours? Boat? Gravy, boat, and train. Great. So we've got our gravy boat and train. And this is our API. It's a fantastic API. Maybe someday this will talk to a database or return us an array of something. But for now, what it returns is gravy boat and train. So this is a server. And now if I restart this server, npm start, it says, I want to be a server when I grow up. And now we're going to say, I am a server. OK. I am a server. And let's see what it does. Gravy boat and train when I go to localhost 5000. So that's here. Yeah, OK, sure. But, I mean, if you want to clap, that's OK. But you don't have to. No. OK, so gravy boat and train. But this is all local right now. This hasn't been deployed. And I can't deploy my server to Firebase, and I can't deploy it to Netlify, so I'm going to use Heroku. Yes, you can do this on a whole bunch of other platforms as well. What I'm trying to do tonight is not tell you that these are the best or the only ones. There are a ton of other options. In fact, these aren't even necessarily the most popular. The most popular is probably AWS. But these are just a couple that let you get up and off the ground really quickly. So gravy boat and train is on localhost 5000, and I want to deploy it to the cloud. What is the cloud? Yeah, those are the people who are paid to be here. All right, so the cloud is just somebody else's computer, so we are going to deploy to the cloud. Once again, Heroku, in case you're interested in pricing, it is free for applications depending on your traffic level. The problem is if you let your app go to sleep, meaning somebody doesn't go there for 30 minutes, it will take a little while for the site to warm up the next time you go there. So that's kind of a bummer. Our application name will be hot dog. Z. Dog. Hot dog zog. Create app. And what we are going to do is connect this to a GitHub project that contains our server, which we don't have yet. So we need to connect our project, our wonderful project here, to GitHub. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and create a new repository called hot dogs dog. These don't have to have the same name, but it's good for convention to have things so well named. And I'm going to create that repository. And then I'm going to push this code up to that repository. So first I'm going to git init, git add everything that I just created, git commit. Oh, thank you. Git status. Ooh. Git reset. Git status. Thank you, kind stranger I've never met. New file, we are going to add a .gitignore so that I don't push up all of the modules. So this shows that Heroku is actually doing that build process. Well, it's not doing the build process. It's npm installing and then running npm start. Those are the two things it does. So it finds a GitHub repo that I'm going to provide to it. It's going to npm install and npm start. And I'm going to add node modules in here, save that. Now this should turn gray, and it does. So instead of 1,000 files, I have 4. That's better. So I'm going to git add, git commit. What did I just do? This will add a server. Oh, that has nothing to do with hot dogs. Great. Git push. I haven't connected my remote yet, so I'm going to add this remote. And git push. Git push set upstream origin master. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. OK, so let's refresh. And now my code is on GitHub, but it's still not deployed on the web. So that's what I'm doing here. So now I'm looking on GitHub, and I'm going to search for hot dog. And the convenient thing here is I don't think I have anything named remotely close to that. So I'm going to connect that. And you can enable automatic deploys, which means the next time I push to my master branch, it will automatically add those updates. I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to deploy the branch. This is going to break. The reason this is going to break is because here in my server.js, I have set the port to 5000. Heroku doesn't let you choose your port. When you're deploying on their computer, you don't get to choose the port. They get to choose it. So the way we do that is we're going to say process.env.port. So .port. Excellent. So here, if it has an environment variable called port, which it does on Heroku, hopefully, it will use that. Otherwise, locally, I'm still going to keep using 5000. That's what this OR will do here. All right, so let's see to make sure that it broke. That's what I want to show. I don't know how long we should wait to prove that it's broken. It's 7:33, so we've got until 7:45. So we'll just sit on this screen and watch it scroll for 10 minutes. OK, it's broken. Convinced? Yes? Broken? OK. So it is broken because we tried to decide the port. So now I have those changes that I made to my code that I hope will fix it. And I'm going to git add, git commit -m add environment variable for port, git push. So now it's pushing up to Heroku. If we go to activity, oh, wow, I was hoping it would say like built or like deploying, but it looks like it just deployed it. I suppose that makes sense. It's not very big. So let's try this. Refresh. Oh, you're not supposed to be broken now, though. You were supposed to convince them you were broken earlier, but not now. New incognito window. Come on.
Is there like a place to look at logs? It doesn't look like it deployed the second time.
It didn't? I don't think so. Oh, maybe now? Hey, there we go. Gravy boat and train. Cool. Cool. That's everything I wanted to deploy. We've got 10 minutes. I can answer questions, or if you've got like something else you want to see. Yeah.
Did we ever look at the Gatsby thing that you deployed?
We didn't look at the Gatsby thing. We deployed it, but we didn't actually look at it. Let's go back. There it is. There's my Gatsby default starter. Keeping me honest. Appreciate that. So this is the Gatsby default starter. We could deploy something more complicated with Gatsby that has a build process as well. Yeah. What else?
Could you tell us a little bit more about the main differences between Gatsby, Netlify,
Yep.
and Firebase?
Yeah, so Gatsby is something that will create a project for you. So it's built on top of React. It's not something you deploy to. Netlify, Firebase, and Heroku are the three things I deployed to. Firebase will allow you to deploy. You have to do it from the command line. You can't drag and drop to it, but it also has a lot of other functionality that I didn't add tonight, including the real-time database, including authentication, a lot of additional things on top of that. Netlify allows you to deploy really easy from a GitHub repository, just the static site. It won't do servers for you. But from the static site, it can also watch that repository. You make changes to it, and it will automatically deploy that site for you. Heroku, the third one we talked about, deploys servers. So that's server-side code. So if you have an API that you want to deploy, you can do it through that. Gatsby is just another way of making a website. One I currently am obsessed with, but yes, just another way to do it. Yeah.
For static sites, I've been enjoying just for like little small ones, like the GitHub Pages is super.
Yeah. Yeah, GitHub Pages is another great way to deploy things pretty easily. Yeah, for really small stuff, what I don't like about it is it doesn't let you pick which folder you deploy. You either have to deploy like the main folder or a folder called docs or documentation. Oh, so you make a separate branch and then you can deploy from GitHub Pages.
I still have to like I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Things that let you like deploy to a branch, not deploy.
Yes. So GitHub Pages I also think is fantastic. I've used it before. The reason I didn't include it tonight is because sometimes it has like a 5-minute delay in between when it actually deploys, I've noticed, if I go back and refresh. So it doesn't do great for live demos, but it is another fantastic way to deploy. All right, so I do have one more thing to show. All right, let me make sure that I hit all of this. Deploy it. That's still me. I still work there, I hope. Static client-side deployment, we did that. Gatsby.js deployment with build, node server deployment, we did that. These are the starter projects. I will share out these links, so if you want to deploy the same projects that we deployed tonight, you can. Netlify, Firebase. Look at all these beautiful slides I made and then never used. Why did I do that? OK, Netlify and Heroku. So this is a nice demo and all, but can I really use this in production? Right? So that's a question a lot of people have with just deployment in general. Like, can I count on this? What is my load time going to be? What is my page speed results going to be? Is anybody familiar with Google's Lighthouse, its audit system for like seeing how fast your website is? So Gatsby.js, that's their logo, is pretty fast when it comes to static sites. So this is Gatsby, which is built on top of React, which I've deployed to Netlify. And here's a site I built with it called Code Championship. I just want to show this because I spent a lot of time styling it. There's almost no JavaScript, but it is very stylish now. Oh, dang it. Isn't it pretty? All right, fine. And the show again. Ooh, wait a second. I've seen that. He stole that from Stripe. No. So what we're going to do is, so I did build 3 sites and deploy them. These are sites I've been working on for a little while, abamath.com, codechampionship.com, and app.codechampionship.com. And I ran those Lighthouse audits on it. Code Championship, perfect across the board, which sometimes it's like 99, so it's like kind of hit or miss. If I'm on really solid Wi-Fi, I get to 100. But like sometimes the performance gets down to 99. So I feel pretty good about this one. So this is, it doesn't have any pictures though. It doesn't have any pictures. So when we add web fonts, images, and input fields, that's abamath.com, and that goes down to 90. And if you have no context or like you've never used Lighthouse before, that number is kind of meaningless. So here's one more site. So this adds in-browser drag-and-drop IDE. So this is an IDE built for kids, but it's a full IDE called Scratch. And I deployed my own fork of this. And here you can see performance is pretty terrible, but it's loading up an entire IDE, so that kind of makes sense. But just to go back, so this is my site that has a text box, and it has images. If you think of the most famous site in the world that has a text box and an image, you might think of this one, which is 89. So I feel pretty good about that. I'm sure they are not as obsessed with this metric as I am. So they're like, wait, that's not a fair way to judge a site. I don't care. I still won. OK, and that's where I'm going to wrap things up. So I am Luke. I'm Luke at any of those 3. So pick your favorite looking word, I guess. PrimeAcademy.io is a full stack coding bootcamp. We also have a UX program as well if you are interested in that. Abimath.com is where I teach kids how to code. So we teach kids how to code through summer camps and through codechampionship.com, which is going to be competitive coding. So we're going to put kids head to head against each other. We actually ran this with adults at Prime, and it was a lot of fun to watch people go head to head. And then approachable.io was a domain name that was available and I thought was super cool. And then after deciding it was super cool and buying it, I have a problem. I know, too many domain names. So approachable.io is an organization where if you've never made a pull request to an open source project before, this is a really great way to do it. It walks you through making a pull request to an open source project and provides you with an open source project where you can contribute. So always looking for contributors there. If you've never made a pull request before, do it. Maybe wait until October 1st because of Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is super cool. I have no affiliation to that. It's just cool. Research it. I can Slack that out as well. And on Twitter, I'm at Luke Schlungen. I've got like 100 followers now, so I'm a pretty big deal. No, that's not how that works. With that, any other questions? 2 minutes to spare. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks so much, Luke.
I hope this water was for me.
Actually, no, it's absolutely for you. It's all good. It's all good. Cool. Well, that's our show. Thanks to everyone for coming out here on behalf of all the organizers, everyone at Space. Hope you enjoyed the first of what will very likely be many events.